Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the webinar, Take the OMG Out of PPC for B2B. Today's webinar is hosted by Anna Sawyer, the Social Media and Marketing Manager at Trada. She'll be joined for the landing page portion of the webinar by Rick Perot from Unbounce. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box, and there will be a time for some questions at the end. Trada will share the slides as well as a brief after the webinar. Ms. Sawyer, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna from Trada. I am the Social Media and Marketing Manager here at Trada, and among other things, I run our Trada paid search campaigns. So today we will be joined by Rick Perot from Unbounce.
Hello Anna, I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, great. Thanks for joining us, Rick. We will hear from him in a little while. So today we're going to go over 5 strategies that are specific to PPC for lead generation. So a lot of what's written out there about paid search focuses on e-commerce, maybe because it's easier to understand. But here at Trada, we run a large percentage of B2B campaigns, including our own. And there are several things to consider when you're tailoring PPC best practices to fit B2B and when you focus on lead generation. So today we're going to talk about how you can use PPC to predict and control lead quality. We'll talk about how to target buyers by stage. We'll be joined by Rick from Unbounce to talk about landing page tips for B2B conversions. We'll talk about how to take what you've learned from targeting your buyers by stage and use that to nurture your leads. And then we'll go over how you can build your brand through PPC and how you can use that across channels. So let's start with predicting and controlling lead quality. So one of the biggest ways in which PPC for lead generation differs from e-commerce is this, lead quality. So if a conversion for you is a form completion, you can see everything from this not very well completed form, this incredibly well completed form. This is actually what it would look like if I actually filled out my information correctly. Sometimes you go through and you see stuff like this. And really there's everything in between. So it doesn't stop at the information on the form. Some leads really just want information. Some of them are comparison shopping. Some of them really can't afford whatever you have. Some of them might convert into customers today, but some of them might take a year or more or never. Some leads might even be your competitors spying on you. And most importantly, some leads will become your customers and some just won't. It would be pretty great if you could only pay to bring in leads that would definitely become your customers. But our CEO at Trada said this one time, if you get the chance to buy a billboard on a road that's driven on only by people who will become your customers, you should buy that billboard. So luckily, with PPC, you can track and test where different levels of leads are coming from. And you can see when patterns emerge. Then you can use this information to inform your marketing activities, like how you allocate your budget. This is one of the best things about PPC. It's not just a way to get the word out about your business. It also generates a lot of data quickly. I'm pretty sure every single webinar we've done hits on some of the ways you can use data from your PPC activities. And actually you can check out some of our old webinars at trada.com/resources. So before you determine which channels and criteria give you good leads, you need to find a way to measure good leads. PPC gives you solid metrics, but they'll be wasted if you classify good leads based on your gut feelings. We always like to say that data loves data. Data hates feelings. It can be definitely different from business to business, but you should start with the basics. Lead forms that are completed with real information, customers who need your service and who can afford it. You can also categorize prospects based on how they respond to initial calls from sales representatives. Depending on your sales process, assign the classification good lead to prospects who indicate a need to buy within a certain number of months. And most importantly, don't forget to take into account the number of leads that turn into customers. If you're using a CRM like Salesforce, we use Salesforce, you can mark each lead with a source and then pull a simple report to determine the lead to close rate for each source. So sources with a higher lead to close rate are likely to be delivering you more quality leads. And this is information that you shouldn't ignore. And of course, it's so crucial to communicate with your sales team closely. Find out what they're hearing from the field from each source. So once you classify what a good lead is, you get to start figuring out where they are coming from. So here are some of the things that you can look for. All of the information I'm going to mention here is stuff you can find out through Google's and Yahoo Bing's reporting and Google Analytics. So first, we're going to go with the time of day or the day of week. The time of day your conversions are generated can greatly predict lead quality. If your customers are business professionals, are they likely to be clicking around at 3 a.m.? You'll get the odd good lead at 3 a.m. because someone had too much coffee, but is it worth paying for all the duds that come in around that time? The best way to find out when all of the quality leads are generated is to run a campaign at all hours on all days until you have a good data set, and then run the numbers. So as always, I'd caution against making decisions based on not enough data. In the end, the amount you spend exploring options will be worth it. So once you figure out when the so-called bad conversions are coming in, you can use the day parting feature to tell the search engine, don't run my ads on weekends, don't run them between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever you want. So you might argue that by day parting you're missing out on potential leads, like people who live abroad. And maybe you are missing leads, but you should really use cold, hard data to determine if they will actually become customers. So next we have geographic location. The same thing kind of applies here. You can use data reporting to determine if geographic location is a predictor of lead quality. Just like with day parting, you could try running campaigns in multiple geographic locations until you have that same solid data set. You can choose which countries to run ads in. Here at Trado, we stick to English-speaking countries until we release our international offerings. And then we use geo-targeting to whittle those locations down to the ones that have a higher lead quality. So let's go to the next one, which is search engines. So this can be really interesting. Completely different types of people search on the different major search engines. We see this all the time. You might think that people only search on Google, because most of us only search on Google, right? But data shows that younger people, wealthy parents, different types of people are searching on Bing, and there are lots of reports that you can read online that say all the different demographics. But why would you read someone else's report when you can generate your own report customized to your business, and you can do it quickly? If you're a B2B business, lead quality might trend in a specific way for each engine for what you offer. But here's the kicker. Because click price can vary wildly from Google to the Search Alliance, it's important to look at the whole picture. So you can do this by calculating a simple ROI. You run campaigns on Google and the Yahoo Bing search network until you have a solid data set. You could call it 100 conversions on each network. And then determine how much you spent on each conversion by network. Very important. So you might find that while one network generated a smaller percentage of good leads, its click prices were dramatically lower, and that would give you a better ROI on that network. So basically the takeaway here is just that you need to test. With paid search, you can generate data quickly and determine where the best leads are coming from, and you can change your behavior based on that. So next we will talk about how you can target buyers by stage. Paid search is great for targeting select types of customers. And when you use paid search, you can build just a really sophisticated lead engine by targeting different buying stages. So what you need to do is define the stages of your sales funnel, organize your ad groups, your ads, and your landing pages based on these stages, and then test and nurture. So we'll talk about nurturing later, but first we'll talk about sales funnel. It's a way to define the stages of your buyers. And we'll start with a little bit of Funnel 101. If you are already a seasoned funneler, you can take this opportunity to sit back and take a little break, have a Cadbury cream egg. So let's find out, what is this funnel thing? The official definition is it's a mechanism for understanding where your prospective customers are in the buying cycle. So in a B2B context, since you're all here to learn about B2B, a sales funnel would look a little something like this. Each of the stages in the funnel is a type of potential customer. The funnel shape shows that there are a lot of folks up there at the top who are just learning about your product, and there are fewer at the bottom who become close customers. So ideally, a potential customer who starts at the top of the funnel, will over time, when you nurture them with leads and when you contact them from your sales team, hopefully they'll move down the funnel toward a close, but it's expected that you'll lose some along the way. But still, you should try to make sure that you don't lose a potential customer through fault of your own. So misinformation, neglect, mismanagement, talking to them too much. You want to make sure that if they leave the funnel, it's because they legitimately don't need you. So we will use the fictional but awesome sounding example of cake books and look a little bit closer at what each part of the funnel really means. So here's a little something about cake books. They're a company that sells accounting software for businesses. Their target customer is companies of any size who want accounting solutions. So it could be a dentist's office all the way up to a big enterprise company. Their cost per action is $500. The action that they're looking for is a completed form on their landing page. So here are some of the things that a person in each part of the funnel might say. So at the awareness part, a customer might say, I need a better way to manage the money in my business. I know that there's a problem. At the interest part, a potential customer here might say, I'm looking into solutions. Maybe I've heard of cake books, but I'm actually moving forward with trying to find a solution. Someone who is at the lead portion of the funnel might say something like, I want to learn more about cake books as a solution for my business. I'm kind of comparing prices. At the opportunity spot, someone's saying, I qualify. I can afford it. I can afford cake books, and I'm really thinking about buying. And then at the close section of the funnel, this person is saying, I chose it. I chose cake books as the solution for my business. So this means in order to target each stage, you can create keywords around each level of the funnel. So we're going to go ahead and keep away from opportunity and close right now because awareness, interest, and lead are really the parts of the funnel that you can target when you use PPC. So we're going to stick to those. So here we're going to create some keywords around each level of the funnel. So when you're creating your strategy, you should put yourself in the shoes of each searcher. Think about the touch points you have with a potential customer. You have the search term, which is the thing that people type in to find you. You have the ad that you write, and also the landing page. And so we'll talk about some of the things that someone might type in if they were at the awareness part. They might type in accounting help, organized finances. These are just a few of the keywords. Remember that one person alone can't think of all the different keywords someone might type in, so it's a good idea to kind of work with someone else. So you consider sort of people looking, kind of starting to think about maybe having a little bit of a problem when you write for the awareness phase. And you should note that these are solution-centric keywords. They center around search terms that identify a problem. So, and remember, as always, you should keep your ad groups focused. You don't want to use tax help for my business and accounting help in the same ad group because it would be hard to write an ad that's relevant to both. It would work better to make one ad group about small business tax solutions and another about enterprise tax solutions, maybe another about accounting help, and then we always suggest that you write 4 ads for each ad group, and then you vary the call to action on the first line so you can test which messages work best. Let your ads run for 2 weeks, keep the 2 that perform the best, and rewrite the 2 that aren't performing. So when you use this method, you don't leave anything to chance, and you ensure that your campaign is constantly being optimized. And then finally, we suggest that you make a custom landing page for each group. So Rick Perot will go over some of the best practices for landing pages in a few minutes. But I just want to mention that you should write copy that echoes the ad in order to remind the searcher where they came from. So the next step in Cakebook's funnel is interest. An interested searcher has identified that there are solutions to his problem and that there's software out there that can help him. So he might use search terms like accounting software, financial software. And a searcher who types in these terms is likely to be interested doing research, and likely to become a lead at some point. So the best thing you can do for someone in the interest portion of the funnel is to write an ad with a compelling offer. You want them to click on your ad over your competitors, and you want to take them to a landing page where you clearly state why your product is the best. So depending on what the price point is of your product, this can be a stage where it's crucial to grab the attention of a searcher before they reach your competitor. So what kinds of offers should we try? Everyone wants to save money, but with B2B offers, especially those that offer managed solutions, showing that you are the trusted solution, the most popular or award-winning software, can be a good bet. You should definitely always split test, and that's one of the ways that PPC is great because you can very easily split test your ads. And this is also one of the practices that's effective dependent on what you're offering. But this is a good stage where you can say, we are the best. So next we're going to come to lead. So when targeting someone at this stage, your brand keywords might come into play. A searcher who's at the lead stage might use terms like Cakebooks pricing, Cakebooks tips. Remember that not everyone will use your exact spelling. Here we have Cakebooks versus Muffin Solutions, who is our competitor in this scenario. And you might even find some success bidding on your competitors' keywords. So, why not? If you manage to rank above them, you might find that you can snag some of their potential customers right out from under their noses. One clever company we saw had built ad groups around their competitors' terms and then landing pages showing the comparisons between the two while managing to keep all the copy relevant. So if you're not bidding on your competitors' keywords, they're probably bidding on yours. So that's something to remember. So here, it can be a good idea to make an offer that saves money. A searcher who's looking to compare you with competitors or learning about pricing is in a good position to be offered things. You can create a sense of urgency with end dates or promotions. Just remember to update your ads when the promotion times are over. If you set a promotion with an end date, it's a good idea to set like a cal reminder to edit the ads before they become obsolete. Of course, you should be refining your ads on a regular basis, using the process of writing 4 ads for each ad group, letting them run. But the cal reminder makes sure that you don't have any disasters. So you have learned how to target customers who are at various buying stages. But where do you send them once they've clicked on your ad? So Rick Perot here from Unbounce is going to be joining us to talk about landing page best practices for lead generation. Rick is the CEO of Unbounce, and they're a really cool company that allow you to make landing pages without having any coding. So thank you for being here, Rick.
Thank you, Anna. That was awesome. As Anna said, my name is Rick Perot. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Unbounce.com, a platform for marketers to create and test landing pages without needing to rely on IT or other web dev resources. In the last year or so, I've seen a lot of landing pages. I've seen some that convert really well, and I've seen some that, don't convert so well. But what I have noticed is the ones that convert really well, they all seem to have a few things in common. So over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to share 3 things with you that I've seen over and over again that really make lead generation efforts much more effective. I'm going to cover something we call balancing the size of the prize, using a relevant call to action, and encouraging a post-click conversion action. So with that, let's get started. When I look at our customer conversion reports and see the ones that are converting less than, say, 1%, converting really not converting very well, I say to myself, I bet you they have a long form to fill out, coupled with not offering much value in return to the prospect. I'm usually right about 99% of the time. Fact is, the longer the form, the less likely a prospect will actually fill it out. Long forms and form fields that are kind of nice to have are barriers to conversion. So the more information that you ask a prospect up front, you need to make sure that they are getting something in return that's worth their effort. That is, the size of the effort matches the size of the prize. For example, you have a unique ebook with valuable information for a prospect. Then you might ask for a few pieces of information like their name, obviously their email, maybe their phone number. However, if your offer is a monthly industry newsletter, try just asking for an email address. Make that barrier to entry really, really small. Fact is, though, every business has different needs, so test the form lengths and the form fields and see which strategy works best for you. You might notice here on the chart I have also included what we call a no-lead generation form in exchange for something. Well, this might make your sales team panic, but I've actually seen it work in a few situations. So it could be a very good long-term strategy. The rationale is prospects download your giveaway, could be an industry report, they'll share it, which increases your reach significantly, and highly qualified prospects will contact you when they're ready to buy. Next thing I see, having a relevant call to action. Always describe exactly what will happen next when somebody clicks your CTA. Submit is not an enticing call to action. It doesn't help reinforce what's going to happen next. And unfortunately, I see it everywhere. Another common error I see is using the term proceed. I'm not even sure what that means. Granted, it's sometimes useful in a multi-step form, but it still doesn't explain what's going to happen next when somebody's filled out your form. The best call to actions I've seen on high converting pages are those that simply describe what's going to happen when the button is clicked. For example, download our report, download ebook software, call me now, send me this information, subscribe to newsletter, start my trial, I'd like to learn more. Be descriptive, and you'll often remove a barrier that's quite overlooked. Fact is, a CTA can be one of the easiest changes you can make to increase page conversion. And finally, probably one of the most overlooked steps in the funnel. And this is less a common mistake, but rather a common missed opportunity. You've just had somebody interested in your product or service, and they've taken the time to give you their contact information, and you present them with a simple thank you. This is like going to a restaurant and not being offered a menu. You have their full attention. You've captured their contact information. Don't end it there. See if you can get them to take another step and get them to go further and engage with your brand. This is where you might ask them to do the following. Follow you on Twitter. Offer them a free gift. Ask them to join your Facebook group. Sign up for your newsletter. Opt in to be notified about something. The list is endless. Just the aim here is to get the prospect engaged, get them to remember you, get them to like you. So just a quick recap. Only ask for information that is absolutely needed, relevant to what the prospect is getting in return. Submit is not a relevant call to action. Be very descriptive. And finally, don't waste your thank you page. That's it. I'm going to stick around for the question and answers. And Anna, back to you.
Thank you, Rick. That was great. Everyone, this has been Rick Perot from Unbounce. You can visit their website at unbounce.com. Trada is a customer of Unbounce. We are big fans. So once you have targeted potential customers, you've sent them to Unbounce's awesome landing page, and you've collected their information via a lead form, the next step is lead nurturing. So there are lots of ways that you can take your leads to the next step once you collect them. Luckily, if you've been using the strategies we just talked about with targeting buyers by stage, you'll already be set up to offer them targeted nurturing messaging. Because you've been sending each of your ad groups to a specific targeted landing page, you can track which leads came from which completed forms and message them accordingly. So you should have at least 3 types of segmented leads, and you can assign them to campaigns. So if you think of the campaigns as the first 3 steps in the funnel, awareness, interest, lead, and depending on your offering, you may have more than this actually. It actually probably will be more complex. Like for example, Cakebooks might have a campaign for awareness, SMB, awareness, enterprise, bigger companies, or for leads that are at the interest level, but they searched on information regarding their payroll offering. They're looking for a payroll solution for their small business. You can have more campaigns than this, but for simplicity's sake, we will assume that Cakebooks just has 3 post-lead campaigns. So we have awareness, interest, and lead. Each of these campaigns should receive different messaging. Leads should receive messaging keyed toward getting them to close, and it might consist of a sales call. But the awareness folks, they're just looking for relevant information about your solutions or even about how your part of the market works. So the awareness leads are good bets for sharing webinars, offering downloads, best practices. And remember that the point of lead nurturing is to get a potential customer to move down the funnel. And all your activities should be designed to make this happen. So after a certain number of touch points, most leads in the awareness campaign should be ready for your interest messaging. It's another reason that it's important to keep your messaging different for each point in the funnel. So whatever your strategies are for lead nurturing, there's some best practices that we want to consider. Make sure you keep your information relevant. The campaign system that starts all the way at the top with your PPC keywords is great for managing your messaging, but be careful, especially if you offer different products. Just make sure the right lead's getting the right information. It's a lot to manage. Make sure you involve your sales team. Keep really tightly coordinated with sales. Just make sure that you're not bombarding or ignoring a lead. Keep sales in the loop about which messages you're sending, and you guys can agree together when sales calls should take place. Make sure the lead can contact you. It might seem obvious, but make it easy for a lead to be able to get a human if they need to. So this could mean even just adding a personal email address to every email. You really don't want them to search their website looking for you. And again, the last one is allow them to jump the line. So maybe you were wrong about how ready an awareness lead was to become a customer. Give these leads an opportunity to skip the steps. So a great way to do this is to put a compelling call to action in your nurturing emails that drive them to a demo request or a free trial. They might be up there at the top getting webinar stuff, but you want them to be able to jump right in, become a customer. So our last section of our webinar, we're going to talk about how you can build your brand with PPC and across channels. It's smart to use paid search for branded keywords, even if you're ranking in the first position for SEO, because branded keywords tend to be cheaper. You don't want your competitors to rank for your search terms. Clicks on branded keywords tend to convert to leads that are further down the funnel because someone looking for you by name has already got some information about you. So here's how you should use PPC to build your brand. Searchers look at PPC ads, even if they're not the ones that they're clicking on. So if you're consistently ranking on relevant search terms, that's branding. The whole point of branding is to create a lasting impression. So when someone needs financial software for their business, you want them then to think, oh, I should go to Cakebooks. And the best part is that when a searcher skims the page and sees your brand but doesn't click, you've made an impression on them and you don't have to pay a cent. So here are the sort of key points here. Branding relies on repetition. So it's important to rank on many different search terms, both short and long tail. You want to be consistent with your messaging and your keywords. So if you have a tagline that's relevant, use it in display campaigns, PPC ads, Facebook announcements, and your Twitter messages. So bigger brands use this strategy all the time. They might change their messaging over time, but at one point all messages you see across channels will be consistent. You want to use your brand name in the display URL, and make sure you keep your landing pages brand consistent. Echo the language of the text ad. I mean, you should be doing this anyway for quality score. And keep the look and feel of the page consistent with your brand. And most importantly, I know we say this all the time, but keep your landing pages, keep your ad groups tight and focused. Don't chuck all your brand keywords into one ad group. Just make sure that you don't get carried away. Use PPC best practices to drive a small number of thematic keywords to relevant ads, and send clicks to relevant landing page. So now you have the strategies you need to develop a sophisticated lead generation machine with paid search. You are targeting the stages in the funnel, keeping your messaging consistent, relevant, and timely until they hopefully pop out the other end of the funnel as a customer. I'll caution that you, with all paid search, in order to be successful and to get the best benefit of paid search, the best benefit of all is the fact that you can rank above even the biggest companies without spending any more money than them. You need to be calculated about your approach. And most of all, you need to log in every day, look at the date, make changes so your campaign doesn't go scale, adjust bid prices, test, rewrite ads, generate comprehensive keyword lists. You guys can watch any of our other webinars where we get kind of into the sort of nitty-gritty of how exactly to manage your campaigns. But if you drop the ball on optimizing, you see your rank slip quickly and you're just wasting money at that point. So we suggest that you use Strata. Strata is totally different. It's the world's first and only crowdsourced paid search marketplace. The results are better than if you do it yourself or if you use an in-house PPC team, but it costs the same amount. Just quickly, we're going to take a minute to kind of explain how it works. how Trada works is we put multiple experts to work on your campaign at the same time. The benefit here is that they already know how to run sophisticated campaigns. They already know how to do all the things that we talked about here. And when you have lots of different people working on a problem together, they display this diversity of thinking and just collective hours of manpower. And they're capable of doing much more than a single person. So it's quite simple. You can launch your campaign very quickly, and you basically have a giant team working on your campaign. And there actually aren't any fees at all to run your campaign in the Trada Marketplace. So it is quite a great deal. So we would love to take some of your questions, and I'm going to have them sent over to me, and I will just start getting ready to answer them. One moment, please. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. What is the minimum amount of information you can collect on a lead form? This is a great question. And Rick, actually, you can feel free to chime in here after I kind of give my thoughts on this. But
sure.
When it comes to lead generation, the less information you collect, the more likely people are to give it to you. If you have one field with an email sign up in exchange for a white paper or something, some kind of download, more people are going to be willing to give up that kind of information than if you ask for a phone number and a bunch of other stuff, Social Security. And if you think about the sales funnel, the top of the funnel is like just all of these people who are just becoming aware. And it's pretty wide up there because you have a lot of people in it. And the more people in the top of the funnel, the better, because you can remarket to them over time. So you do want to make sure that you give them some sort of offer, a reason to give you their information, a free trial, a white paper, and speak specifically to what you're giving in your call to action. Like download white paper here. Rick, you might have some thoughts on this because you're the landing page guru.
Yeah, actually what I was going to say is, like I said, I see landing pages all the time, and the ones with the really, really high conversion rates are the ones that ask for the minimum amount of information from a prospect. In fact, I saw one recently that had a 70% conversion rate. I've never seen anything like that. And all they were asking for was an email address to be notified of, it's kind of like a Groupon thing, and to be notified of specials in their area. I mean, that's outstanding. And like Anna said, at that point now they've captured the lead. They can remarket to them in the future and learn more about the prospect. If you ask a lot of information, you are going to have a much lower conversion rate of prospects filling out your form. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
I think just test them too. Test what's right for your business.
Exactly. We give a lot of advice, like in this webinar, but the truth is just like test it for your business. Look at the data. There are so many amazing tools out there that you can use to test stuff. So use them. All right, here is our next question. How many keywords do you recommend per campaign? So let me try and kind of tell a little story to kind of explain my answer to this question. If you are selling something online, even if you're a B2B business, basically what we're doing here is selling. You're trying to get someone to become your customer. There are a lot of different types of people out there, and they are going to be typing in lots of different things to try and find you. So the answer, to how many keywords do you recommend per campaign, is as many keywords as you can possibly think of. You're not going to clutter up your campaign by having too many keywords, because the way that Google and the Search Alliance work is they allow the things that work to sort of float to the top. They allow the good work to work. So if you have a very small, tailored set of keywords that you spend weeks and weeks thinking of, there's no way to know if those are actually the things that people are searching on. And if you have a small set of keywords, there are going to be people out there who are using things that you aren't thinking of, and they're not going to be finding your product. They're going to be finding someone else's product or someone else's business. So that is the answer to how many keywords you recommend per campaign. Let me go to our next question. This must be something that I mentioned earlier in the webinar. Do you have an example of a customer, client, or someone in general that that does great landing pages on their competitors' keywords. So actually, I found this one recently while I was writing a blog post on crowdsourcing tools. Actually, if you type in 99 Designs, you will find that CrowdSpring, which is a company that is not dissimilar to 99 Designs, actually has a whole PPC campaign around 99 Designs where they say things like, we have more than 99 designs. And they have this great landing page that actually manages to make the phrase 99 designs very relevant, and so they rank really, really high for it. But it's not nonsensical. It's also just a little bit cheeky, and I thought they did a great job of that. So you guys can probably all see that by typing that in. I am going to go to our next question. I think actually Rick can probably field this one. What is an ideal conversion rate for a landing page?
Oh, I think I get asked that one every day. It really, there's no simple answer there. It really depends on your business. I will, a bit of a rule of thumb I use. For every dollar I spend, I want to make $3 back in revenue. So if for $100 I can get 100 prospects to my website and my product sells for 30, therefore I need a conversion rate of 10% to make that campaign effective. I guess that's the way I would look at it, and that would be different for every business. In fact, I used the example of the really high converting landing page in the previous question. I actually saw one prospect or one of our customers who I reached out to and said, hey, do you need any help because your conversion rate is so low? And he tells me, he goes, man, this is the best conversion rate I've ever had. And turns out they're a plastic surgery clinic. And so their product is very expensive. And to them, the conversion rate they were getting was very cost effective, and they were really happy. So it really depends on your business. I guess I know it's not an answer everybody wants to hear, but it's actually, I think, the closest thing to the truth.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
So I am probably going to take just a couple more questions. So this one is actually about Trada. If we use Trada for a B2B, does it work on a strict CPA basis, or do we pay per click on the search engines? So the way Trada works is you launch your campaign in the marketplace, and then right away optimizers choose to join your campaign based on a number of factors. And they right away start generating just massive numbers of keywords, writing custom ads, putting all this stuff together, and then we chuck it out into Google and Yahoo Bing, or whichever combination of search networks that you choose, and right away it starts beginning generating data. So we work on a model that starts out with pay-per-click and then generally moves into a CPA model. We need to give our optimizers time for this sort of exploratory period where they find out kind of what works, and we find out how your CPA normalizes. And then after this exploratory period, the way it actually works is you, as a business, define a reasonable price for a conversion and a reasonable price for a click. And then if an optimizer can get that conversion or that click for less, they keep that little difference. So again, here you aren't having any surprises. You're paying what you're paying for conversion, and then they keep that little spread. So the answer is really both. We run in a pay-per-click model and a pay-per-action model. So here is a question: what's an ideal PPC budget each month? So again, this is hugely dependent on your business. But one thing that we always say is if your budget isn't large enough, you actually won't really have any room to explore options, and as a result, you'll probably have quite poor results. So at Trada, we have a minimum monthly budget of around $3,000 to $5,000. And our kind of sweet spot for what works best in the Trada marketplace is in that sort of $5,000 to $50,000 range. And part of the reason for that is that you have all of these optimizers working for you, just putting a ton of work in. And if your budget isn't big enough, it's kind of not worth it for them. There's no way for them to get paid. But actually that minimum budget maybe you could work with a smaller minimum budget if you're running your own campaign in Google or on the Search Alliance. But unless you have enough to kind of play with, it's difficult to get good results. So I think I'm going to take one more question, and I think I had one for Rick here. The question is, does every business need landing pages?
I think every business advertising online needs landing pages. I think in most cases, sending paid traffic to your company website, you're just not going to see the conversion rates that you would if you send paid traffic to a specific landing page designed specifically for that ad, or in the case of pay-per-click, for that ad group. So I would say, yeah, if you're advertising online, you definitely you should be using landing pages and you should be testing them. I see a lot of people who do use landing pages and then they don't really test them. And I like to think I've seen a lot and I know it works, but I even surprise myself when I look at our own in the efforts I've done with either customers or now with Unbounce, and I think I know what's going to work, and then I do some testing and I realize, wow, I had it all wrong. So testing is really important as well. So you should be using them and you should be testing them. And it doesn't have to be expensive, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time.
Awesome. Thanks, Rick. Actually, I am going to ask one more question because this one just came in. I know we're running low on time, but this one just came in, and actually I am also wondering about this. So this one is also for you, Rick. What works best, a one-page form or a multiple-step registration, or does that sort of tend to differ?
Ooh, I've actually just recently read something that a multiple-step form works better. But again, I think it really depends on the business. It depends on the prospects that are getting there. Because I've seen both. I've seen one-step, a landing page with a form on it work really, really well. And I've also seen multi-step forms work really well. And the alternative to that, I've seen both of those not work so well in very similar cases. So it's every business is different. Where they get their traffic from is different. The customer profiles are different. So you really got to spend just a little bit of time and try test a little bit what would work best for your business. I said earlier that and don't send traffic to your homepage. That's generally true, but I've even seen home pages that actually work really well because they have all the characteristics of a good landing page. So it's you really got to test what works for your business.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think again, it just goes with our mantra of test, 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 always test. Okay, I do have time for one more question. This is really going to be the last one. If you are an e-commerce company that targets businesses, how do you make sure consumer-level customers don't click? Okay, so this is a great question. If you, let's say, you're selling printers, like really expensive printers for businesses, and consumer-level and commercial-level people are going to type in the same search terms right at the beginning. Like they're all going to type in laser printers, but you don't want some regular Joe clicking on your ad because you sell giant commercial printers for $1,000. So this is a really good time to use the ad copy to weed out those consumer-level businesses or customers. So there are two thoughts on this. You could include the price in the ad. If the price is going to dissuade the consumer, maybe you include the price so you don't get clicks on people who can't afford it. This isn't to say that you can't have a good, compelling price-related offer for that more commercial level customer, but you won't have a consumer seeing that you have these big printers for $1,000 and clicking on your ad and wasting your money. Another thing that you could do in this situation is use a call to action that specifies business, like sign up now to get a printer for your business, or sign up now to get more leads for your business. So that's a really great question. That is all we are going to take for now. Everyone, we will be sending out a copy of the presentation as well as a best practice brief. We thank you so much for joining us. Rick, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, you're welcome. I enjoyed it. It was awesome, and your presentation was really, really good and informative.
Thank you, as was yours. Everyone, this is the end of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the webinar for today. We thank you for your participation and ask that you please disconnect your lines.